Well, hi everyone. Welcome to American TESOL Presents Free Friday webinars. I'm Shelly Sanchez Terrell, and this is Roscoe the Pug, and we are your host and hostess. We're going to talk about a very maybe not so groovy topic, but today we're going to show you how to make it groovy, which is grammar. Roscoe is very smart. He was reading his Neil deGrasse Tyson book today, and he loves grammar because it makes him a very smart pug. Roscoe is actually fluent in three different languages: English, Spanish, and German, because he used to live in Germany. And so he actually follows rules and understands in those different commands. So he knows a lot about learning different languages. And so we're going to show you how to make it fun for your students, because if it's fun or if it's engaging, especially with grammar, then it really helps them to be able to build the foundations and do well with the rest of it. One of the things about the grammar is when you talk about grammar, it's not always so engaging. And one of the reasons why it's not so engaging is because a lot of times it's drilling. You have to understand the grammar is really one of the best parts of a language, because if you don't understand the foundation, if you don't understand the structure, if you don't understand languages sometimes run like formulas. That's the way I learned my languages. And when I was living in Germany, that's what I looked at. I looked at the structures. I looked at the rules. There's rules, there's structures. And the best way to learn grammar is, first of all, you've got to be able to visualize that. And you've got to be able to know how to plug in things sometimes. And then you've got to practice, 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 practice. What it also means is that you have to make mistakes. Because with grammar, there's no way that you're going to not be able to make mistakes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to stop the camera, because then it's going to probably die soon. So what I want to do is hide this, and then you can see my lovely picture instead. There we go. So it's really important. Exactly, Peggy. The structure can help you figure out what a sentence means. It also helps you when you're trying to say something else. So, for example, if you want to say something like "I went to the mall," well, if you use the same structure, then you can say "I went to." Let's say you want to say "I went to school," "I went to the zoo," and so you kind of can plug things in. With English, it gets a little bit more difficult. So I talked about visualizing. And when you visualize grammar, then one way to do this is through comics. And one of the reasons I was going to share that with you is because one of the best resources that I believe that's out there for language learners, especially English language learners, is Grammar Man. Grammar Man is absolutely fantastic. I love him. He makes grammar so much fun. He has different types of comics, so we can go to Grammarman Comics, and then you can. I'm going to go ahead and put the link there. But not only does he have really great comics that explain things like the adventures of A, or articles and nouns and things like that, but also he has it in video form. So you can watch YouTube videos. He also has recently done where he has students go, and the students will also have the students themselves. Well, his students from Thailand show you how they do their own grammar videos. So they actually show you their digital storytelling objects that have to deal with grammar. So you can use those as examples, and then you can also see what other students are doing. So Grammar Man is a great place to start, and a great way to really help your students learn grammar. And you can start by showing them the YouTube video, maybe a clip, and getting them engaged. And then, of course, it's important to encourage them to create their own grammar. They can replicate it using free comic tools. So this is actually one that my student did. And actually, one of my students is here right now, Vicenta, and he will be doing this because we will be working with comics. So one of the things we do is we get our students to work with comics. And here you see how with this Marvel comics, this is really nice, because what they did was, oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Peggy. If you go to this one, the comic, you can see where she highlighted Carmen here. She highlighted the different words. Now, when she highlighted these words, what did the highlighted words represent? Why did she highlight those specific words? What grammar structure is she sharing right now? So when we have so when we post this comic, we can even use this as a teaching tool. Um, but well, see, good thing you came, Vicente. Yes, verbs exactly. And what specifically is Spider-Man showing? What verb and what verb tense? So verbs definitely, verb phrases exactly. And in the past tense exactly. So see, we can already use this, and this is a much better um, that we can show and question our students about than if they got this out of a book. So what do you think they're gonna love instead? Are they gonna love seeing this from the textbook? Probably not. So you can put it in the comic form. It really visualizes it. So here we talked about a criminal robbed and killed Uncle Ben. So they have a car, but then the students can go themselves and they can create these comics and they can highlight, because it's important they highlight the different tenses that they're focusing on. They can color code them exactly, and then they can practice it that way, but they can also contextualize it. So you can see one of the great things about the comic is you can see he's standing, but the rest of the ones he's in movement, he's in action. So we grade this with rubrics. So I actually have a rubric to grade that with. One of the best ones, so that was made with Marvels. You can do it with superheroes, but that's just superhero comics. If you want to use different other types of comics, then my favorite comic creator that I absolutely love, well, one of them is Toondu. So I didn't even put Toondu, but you can do toondu.com, or you can do makebelievescomics.com. And this is also a free iOS app. One of the great things about Make Believes Comics is it's a great app. It's free. Your students can do it in, I believe, 7 or 8 different languages. So it does support French, it does support Spanish, it does support German, and quite a few other languages. So that's one of the great things. It doesn't only have to be for English. Yes, all of these are free. I only share free stuff. And the other part is that the app as well is free as well. So one of the other things you can do is you can with the make believes is it also has 350 printables. So your students, you can use this with your students. It covers different areas. So if you're teaching Columbus Day, they had one for that. If you're teaching history, they have one for that. If you're teaching math, science, they have where you can just print it and they fill in the blanks. There are different types of memes, and I didn't put the proper memes I should have put here, but memes are a great way to really teach different types of language. And one of the memes that there's one that's actually grammarly.com, and grammarly.com is a really awesome place. Their Facebook page is awesome. They have so many different ways to learn language with Grammarly. And Grammarly has fun images on Facebook. So these are one of the things that you can do with Grammarly. The great thing about Grammarly is you can drag and you can drop a text file and copy paste a paragraph. So it kind of becomes your grammar coach. It's really nice. They give you different types of points. They teach you about writing essays. So there's a lot of things that you can do. It's a personal grammar coach. It corrects 10 times more mistakes than popular word processors. So it looks at the different types of mistakes. Um, I don't know if all the features are free, but what I wanted to focus on here, you get a free 7-day trial, but what I wanted you to do was the part that is free that you can do is to go to their Facebook page. And their Facebook page is filled with awesome memes. So it's one that a lot of us English language teachers follow on It's what a bunch of us actually follow on Facebook. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you that particular one. It's in fact, if you go now, it says Friday is a punderful day, and so they actually have puns that they're doing at this moment with Grammarly. The other part of Grammarly is it has really cool memes that are images that actually show you different things. And so you'll see something like, maybe you'll see a grumpy cat or something like that, and it'll say wonderful things. It gives you the distinction. So one of them, for example, for the Friday that's full of puns, what they do is one of the girls shared renewable energy, and it has a big fan, solar wind, and it says, I'm a big fan. So you can guide and get the pun there. The other one as well is here. It says, uh, so they have a comic, and they have two punctuation marks, and one of the punctuation marks is a comma, and the comma says, let's slow down for a second here. And then they have a period, and the period says, nope, we better just stop it right now. So they do have a lot of very, very, they have a lot of very funny things that they post on there that I absolutely love. Um, and then they have one today also with Kant, Immanuel Kant, and it says, I would like to make a pun about philosophy, but I can't. um, and they have another one that's really funny too. They have a comic, and the comic says it has the one of the things that it has for the comic is, it says the games get pretty crazy at English teacher parties. And so what you see is a big sign that says ITS, and it looks sort of like pin the tail on the donkey, and the man has to pin the comma. Where would it be? So it's really funny. English teachers follow it all the time. I definitely recommend following Grammarly, because they come up with the funniest grammar puns that you can possibly think of. Um, the other one that is really good is actually, there's Laura Gibbs, and Laura Gibbs has grammar memes that she does all with cats. They're LOL cats. She's a great person to follow on Twitter. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you Laura's things. But she does everything with yes, you could use the Facebook page with students. It's the reason why I would say that is because if you go to the comics, especially with Laura's, as it's banned Facebook. Oh wow, that's terrible. Well, then that might not be a good one. But you could probably do the online Laura Gibbs site then. Laura Gibbs has LOL cats, and her cats give different types of grammar tips and stuff with memes as well. Meme is a picture. It can be an action as well, but what it is it's something that's shared, like a funny image or a funny action, and it goes viral, but you can do different things with it. So for example, it's good for grammar, because you'll see some of the most famous memes are the keep calm ones. Keep calm, and then you fill in the blank. The other one is that you can see here for grammar is ain't nobody got time for that. And it's this woman, and she was memed. She was actually in a newscast, and a lot of people thought that she was funny because she kept saying nobody got time for that. So now they made her a meme. They actually took a picture of her. This is from the newscast that she came out in, that she was interviewed, and they put in the bottom, ain't nobody got time for that. So your students can go and they can write the proper grammar for that, and that's what they can do about it. Yeah, that was wonderful. Grandma Remo, I didn't even know there was a Grandma Remo. The other thing that, so it really gets them to practice the grammar structure by filling in the different memes. Another thing that you might enjoy when working with grammar is text messages. Your students love text chatting. They like SMS. So you can get them to actually go, one, a teacher actually has them go back and to um, take different types of online, they'll find like text messages and things like that, and they have them go and they correct it, they correct the grammar of the text messages. I think that's phenomenal. A better idea is you can actually get your students, have them volunteer. They don't have to show the names or anything like that, but get them to take their text messages from the week, share about 5 or 10, put them in the mix, and then everyone goes and they fix the grammar within everyone's text messages. And that can be pretty fun too. We can say that, we're not trying to criticize anyone or anything like that, but we actually go and we do that. Oh, thank you so much, Peggy. That's brilliant. And I had forgotten about that one, but Peggy was saying how they take the celebrities, and one teacher actually goes and one of the teachers had where her students actually go and they fix the grammar in in Twitter messages, and they take it from celebrities. So this is one thing that's really great for students to do. If you have adult students, for example, they can look at the Kardashian tweets, or they can look at something like Flava Flav's tweets or Justin Bieber's, and they can go back and they can correct the grammar for them. So I think that's a really fun way to learn grammar as well. Now on this one, this is actually they can add their text on here. This is a good classroom tool. It's not the real text, and the reason you don't want the real text is because if you have the real text, one problem with the real text is that you might have other people's names, and you don't want to do that. That could be very dangerous. So with the text chats, you can instead go and you can add different types of text that you had within the week. Your students can. They practice writing as well. Um, and then you can talk about things like when it's okay to yeah, exactly. You can talk about when it might be autocorrect that led to that, like Peggy's talking about, but you can also talk about when purposely the language has changed, like for example, if it's an idiom, um, then sometimes we have actually ain't nobody got time for that. That's not grammatically correct, but it actually now that is acceptable English, because ain't not nobody got time for that is a meme, and that's part of a grammar structure that we have allowed as part of our colloquial English. So you can talk about the difference between that. You can talk about what is a proper grammar, but also what we allow in certain situations, because that is part of the culture now, and that is part of a structure that has now been accepted because we have allowed it to be. And so you can find a lot of those in the slang or urban dictionary. And be able, your students can be able to tell you the difference between those. And I think that makes it very good if you're evaluating and you're able to learn part of the culture. And as well, there's a lot of studies out there that talk about how it, even though for us it's not, so adults and English teachers and a lot of older English teachers have a big problem with that. They say nope, that's not proper grammar, but those teachers are actually wrong, because now it's been accepted into the culture, and in fact it's more proper grammar. It's actually considered some of the grammar that they use and the language they use is considered archaic. It's considered that that's not acceptable English as much as some of the colloquial ones, some of the slang ones. So that is something that we definitely have to do. Well, thank you, Vicente, and thank you for doing that with your assignment. And what I'll do is I'll go and I'll take a look at that one, and now that that one's public, and I'll update it on your assignment. So you can also do this with classroom games. Classroom games help you chant, and chanting is also a great way to learn English as well. So you can do things such as here's one called Mr. Bear that I do with my students, and you can see I'm doing it with these children in Croatia, and they love this game. So there's classroom games you can play. I find a lot at genkyenglish.net. GenkiEnglish.net has tons of classroom games for grammar, for young learners, for very little kids. These children right here in Croatia are about 5 to 6 years old. So we do chants. We do chants where we jump rope sometimes. We do clapping games, and all of that is practicing grammar, because you have to drill this, you have to repeat the structure, but then you add your own. So here the structure is Mr. Bear, Mr. Bear, how are you? Now you can also say a monster, so it's coming up and we're going to be celebrating Halloween. If you missed the Halloween, we did webinars for Halloween the 2 weeks prior, so last Friday and the Friday before that. So bye, Vicente, see you in class. And then you also have, so the students chant and they say, Mr. Bear, how are you? So they're asking this question and they are practicing how to respond, how to say different types of emotions. So then I, with the bear, say, well, the bear puppet says, I am. And he could say, I'm sad. And I do the voice for it. I'm sad. Boo hoo hoo. They ask again because they're waiting for me to say, I'm hungry. And sometimes I'll switch it up. Sometimes I'll say, I am so sad. And sometimes I'll say, I'm hungry. So they understand that you can have the contractions. But also they understand, and that's common of English language, is that people tend to shorten the structure. So it's good for them to hear different ways of saying the same thing. And then I run around and I touch them. Now, when I touch them, then that means they get to be Mr. Bear, the puppet, and they have to come and they have to do the same. We ask them, we say, oh, Mr. Bear, how are you? And then they have to say, I'm happy or I'm excited. So this is a good way to practice grammar for, this is one of the games. And like I said, at GenkiEnglish.net, you can actually find tons and tons of games and songs. A lot of them are free on the site, and handouts. They have some awesome, colorful handouts, but there's a lot that you pay for as well. So one way they can learn as well is with the digital game. So they don't always have to have, oh, it's Genki. I'm sorry. Let me put that up. Let's see. Did I put it up? Here it is. GenkiEnglish.net. And it's actually because Genki means happy in Japanese. So that's why. That's, it's called that. And the songs are very happy. They're some of the happiest ones. You have digital games and quizzes, and when you think about digital games and quizzes, there are certain ways that you can have your students go and they can create their own games to have others play, and they can test with different types of grammar. So if you're preparing for a test, or if you want them to just take a fun quiz, then you can do something like getkahoot.com. Students around the world love Get Kahoot. In fact, I was in Norway, and a couple of the gentlemen from Get Kahoot were there, and the students loved Get Kahoot. They were not on Twitter, actually, which made me kind of surprised, but all of them loved Get Kahoot. So Get Kahoot is a free way to create online games for your students. It's trivia quizzes. You can add, they can compete against each other. But one of the best things about Get Kahoot is then your students get to go and they get to make their own quizzes. And so they can quiz their peers. If you do this instead of a pop quiz, your students will absolutely love you for it, and they will love learning grammar. That'll be one of the highlights. If you say, okay, Friday is Get Kahoot trivia, we're going to test our grammar skills. They're going to be so excited. They're going to be like, they're not going to want to miss a Friday, and they're going to want to practice grammar. How awesome is that? For adults and even teenagers, you can use YouTube videos. So a lot of times we can find really cool videos. You can use maybe a clip from Twilight, or maybe a clip from Harry Potter, or from the Hunger Games, or The Fault in Your Stars. I mean, any of these wonderful movies that they really enjoy and love, cartoons, they can go and then you can create a quiz easily where it tests the grammar in that YouTube video. Music lyrics, there's a lot of music out there, and you can look at the grammar structure for that as well. This is called blubber.tv. And it's really easy. It gives you a time to where you choose. So it's really easy to create these, and you can even find some really great ones that are already on there that you can use, so you don't have to recreate it. eslvideo.com, the same thing. It even scores them, so you can even add that as the grade. But here you get the YouTube video, and then you can easily, it takes the transcript from there and makes it to where you can make some really good different types of questions as well. Yeah, it is hard to do 4 different answers. Why do I keep it? Tiny Tap is one of my favorite ones. So if you actually go to, and teachers love it. So if you're looking for an app, if you happen to work with an iOS app, Tiny Tap, you can find tons of ways to practice grammar, to practice vocabulary. There's hundreds. So if you, even if you just go to tinytap.it, then you'll be able to find really cool quizzes for and games that your students can play to practice grammar. You'll find hundreds, and they love them. I've had reports where my students go out and they actually try this with their kids, and they say, my kids love learning English by using Tiny Tap. So you can just play the games. It is made for the iPad, by the way. So I don't think you can play them on the computer. You might, I'm not sure, but I think it's just made for the iPad or iOS devices. They have it in different languages as well. The other one that you may want to do is you can have your students actually go and they can make the Tiny Tap for their peers. So I think that's always a really good option. Boggle's World, and I share something from Boggle's World probably most webinars, and that's because Boggle's World has some awesome stuff. But one of my favorite things about Boggle's World is it has these game board templates. So you can print one, you can laminate it, put it on, paste it on a board, laminate it, laminate the card deck, and you can use this again and again and again. I often use these when my students would get antsy, they didn't want to do something, then I would take out one of these board games, and for the last 5 or 10 minutes, we would actually go and we would practice. We practice grammar and English by playing the board game, and they love that. You can learn a lot of grammar by visual mapping, and I think visual mapping is one of a great way. So sometimes it's important for us, for example, you could put in the middle, you could put the past tense, and then you can have your students go to where they try to understand, what is the rules behind the past tense, or maybe the past perfect or the present, but you really visualize it this way. Or you can even do this with different word structures. So let's say that you have the word can. Well, then you could branch it out with the visual mapping, and then you can do things such as you could put can't, cannot, couldn't, could not. So all of these are kind of derivatives of can, and you can see where it branched off, and then they can do another one where it actually comes off, and it gives specific sentences they came up with. So there's a lot of ways to really use visual mapping. You can find a lot of grammar in music, and you can of course find it in different lyrics. And one of the sites that I'll add to the bookmarks, and you can find this in, is actually, I forgot to put the Lucidchart, but Lucidchart now does this visual way to learn grammar with music. So you can go to the Lucidchart, and they actually have they do music videos, and what they do is they structure it, they put into different branches and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what that is about. In this one they have Hey Jude by the Beatles. So let me go ahead, it's called the flow chart. It's a really cool, I really love it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share it with you. so you can see this. But there's also a lot of different, like English Central will have you play. There's of course the karaoke called lyrics training that you can do as well. And lyrics training is a fun way to learn grammar as well. So that's one of them. In fact, I'll go ahead and put lyrics training because that one's a very good website as well. But one of my other favorites, and you can follow this person on Twitter, and he does lots of different videos, and he's also on Facebook, is Fluency MC. So Fluency MC actually goes and he has all these videos where he teaches grammar through rap. So you can learn, your students can learn by rapping, and they can learn about the rules and the structures. And he just makes learning so much fun. His real name is Jason Levine. He's a really good friend of mine, and I love everything that Jason does. He makes learning so much fun. One of the things he does is when he has a webinar, he comes on air and he says, "Give me a word, give me words," and he asks you to give him different types of words, and then he takes the words from the students and he incorporates them right then and there into a rap. So that's one of the things that I think is really amazing, that he's able to do that, and he makes his grammar very fun that way as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you the lyrics training, but then I'll also go ahead and I'll share with you Jason's his Calo, I think it's calolearn.com. So we will see what that is. And then you can go ahead and you can learn it that way. So let me go ahead and give you, it's facebook.com calolearn, and I'm going to copy and paste that. So and there's other places that also do this with music videos and use music to teach English as well. And so if you happen to be able to take advantage of that, then I think your students will love it as well. And you can kind of hear the video in the background. He was doing it. That one was actually from Tunisia. So the other idea that you can teach grammar through is jokes. So there's a lot of jokes, and they can be in different categories. I start with the joke mingo or joke bingo, and you can do different types of jokes. There's knock knock jokes. There's jokes like, for example, there's one where it talks about what do you call, and you know the thing about jokes is you can find a certain specific one and then you practice the same structure. So with the knock knock joke, you would say knock knock, who's there, and then you go and you tell them, you know, um let's see, you might want to say banana. This is one of my favorite ones, and you say banana who, and then it says banana, and then it goes again, knock knock, who's there, banana, banana who, knock knock, who's there, banana, I mean orange, orange who, orange you glad that I didn't say banana. So you can see there that, you know, they can see the pun behind that, orange you glad. So that's different one that you can tell with knock knock jokes. Now, there's one about, there's different jokes as well. Why did the chicken cross the road? And then you can go and you can have different reasons the chicken crossed the road. I actually did a lesson about that where students have to go and they have to highlight what are different ways that chickens cross a road. There's other jokes as well. For example, there's one where it says, what do you call someone with no arms and no legs that hangs on the wall? Art. Okay, and they have these jokes that go like that. What do you call someone with no arms and no legs and they're in the water? Bob. They're in the water, Bob. What do you call someone with no arms and legs that's on the doorstep? Matt. So you can see there are a lot of different jokes that we can practice that will have you, they can take out the grammar structure and they can say, okay, what's a great way to reply? And these are the ways that um, you can learn about the culture. It was funny because I did this with my German students, and my German students were showing, because in Germany they don't have knock knock jokes. So jokes aren't always translated. So you can have your students come and they can share with you in their language what jokes they have. And then you can learn about the culture of jokes from the different languages, but you also can look at the grammar structure within it. So it's a good way to learn it. This is my friend Chia, and I got to observe her class, and these are very popular for teaching grammar as well. It's really important to visualize it, and anytime you can use a graphic organizer or any way that you can show a different rule. The pearl trees, yes, yes, actually, it might actually be, um, Peggy, it may actually be a Pinterest this time. So I'll have to look for that. But I'll share that later on as well. But one of the things that you can do with this is, if you have the different types of grammar structures, then you can go ahead and you can have it to where students make drawings. Because I found when I had a graph when I was learning German, and I was able to graph it like this little arrow, especially these arrows that you can see. Chia here is sharing what the tenses look like. So she's showing you with the arrow, and this is a very popular arrow we draw sometimes, but it's very easy with this arrow to be able to go and understand the different types of grammar features and structures, um, from the past tense to present progressive. And depending whether you're teaching British English, it's going to be different. So you have to be able to tell your students the same, because sometimes when we conjugate stuff in British English, it's not the same as American English. So we do have to make sure that when we're talking with our students, we do either focus on one, or if you happen to be one of those people that really does know them all, then you're actually in for a good one, because I don't tend to know that. So I tend to have to focus on the American one. um, so another way that we can really help with the grammar structure is we can circle the roots, we can highlight the endings, how to conjugate irregular verbs, things like that. So you saw all of the different ways. There are many, many, many more ways, and I will be sharing that in the Pearl Tree that I've made for this, and you can collect as well. Now, it's also, and I'll put that in the box as well, but the Pearl Tree is actually for not only this, but it's also for vocabulary learning as well, because that's one of the parts of learning grammar. Is grammar builds the foundation. It's like building a house, and when you build a house, if you don't have a strong foundation, it's going to fall apart. And so we want our students to be successful language learners, and we want them not to fall apart, and we want them to actually be able to go and to be able to learn how to properly speak the language as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you two pearl trees. So one of the pearl trees is going to be called language arts, and the language arts is what you can use to learn different types of grammar, but also vocabulary as well. And you'll find all of these sites there and more. So thank you so much, and I hope that you have a great time learning grammar, and that your students do as well, because these are some great innovative ways, and it can take something that usually students groan about and make it much better. So thank you so much for coming.